Lately, I think this whole agenting thing has been going a little too well for me. Last time out, I wiped the AI 3-0, and I think I might be starting to get a little too big for my britches. So I figured I needed a real challenger, a flesh and blood, thoughts and vibes challenger, and I found just the man for the job. But first, let's meet the players. Meet Takefusa Kubo. He's just turned 26 and has now been at Real Sociedad for 5 years after his £5.25 million move from Real Madrid. He burst onto the scene playing 36 games in his first season, 23 of which were starts. The following year, his starts halved, though he was able to increase his goal output. Things seemed to level off for him in year 3, making 12 starts and scoring 4 goals. However, at this point, his career completely stagnated. Over the next 2 seasons, he made only 4 appearances in La Liga, and in the latter of which he made exactly 0 appearances and played no minutes, despite being fit the entire season. He's now entering the prime of his career, which will be completely wasted if he cannot find a move to get him regular football. He's most effective as an attacking midfielder through the centre, but can even play up front, in central midfield, or anywhere down the right-hand side other than the defensive positions. He's extremely versatile. He's earning £63,000 a week with another 2 years left on his deal, but Real Sociedad are willing to part with him for the sum of £13.5 million. On to player 2. Meet Georginio Rutter. He's recently turned 25 and is about to enter his 6th season at Leeds United after what at the time was a club record transfer fee of £30.5 million from Hoffenheim. Much like Kubo, he did receive ample playing time in his first season with 21 appearances, but only one of them was a start. He still managed 3 goals from the bench. He then took a massive step back the following season, making only 7 appearances, no starts, and registering 0 goals in the Premier League. His substitute role became even more apparent the following season as he made 18 appearances from the bench but failed to yield a single goal. In year 4, he finally managed to score a goal again. However, it will come as little consolation as he still only made 7 appearances. Last year was actually a step in the right direction for him as he started a record 4 times out of his 18 appearances and was able to score 4 goals. But his record for Leeds overall makes very depressing reading, with just 7 of his 71 appearances coming from the start and scoring only 8 goals in 5 years at the club. With Leeds spending decent money over the summer to strengthen their attack, he's going to be pushed yet further down the pecking order. He needs to get out now if he has any chance to save his career. He's at his best when he's a pure striker, but can also link up very well with a strike partner. He's currently earning 66k a week at Leeds, and they'll be willing to let him go for £13 million, which I truly believe could be a bargain for another team that knows how to use him. If you've seen the other videos I've made like this, then you'll already know the drill, but just in case you haven't, I've put a link in the description to the playlist so you can check that out as well. But do not worry, it is not required watching. You'll pick it up pretty quickly. Today, we attempt to find both these players the perfect moves to resurrect their careers. We will then follow their careers into the future to decide who did it better, me, the AI agent, or today's challenger. It's only bloody TomFM. Tom, how are you, my friend? Welcome to the channel.
I am very well, thank you. Thank you for having me and letting me in on your wonderful idea.
Wonderful is a bit of a stretch, but thank you for joining me today. How are you feeling about this? How was the process of picking the moves for these players for you?
I tell you what, it was so much fun because it's something that I've never done in Football Manager before. So it was something that was, new to me, and I had a great time just looking through teams, looking to see where they would fit in. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Did you feel was it harder than you expected it to be to actually find the moves to the players?
Yeah, actually it was, because you think you found a perfect team, and then suddenly there's one little part of it which doesn't quite make sense. Or maybe they've not got any money and then they can't make the moves, and then you have to go back to the start again. It was a fun process, but it took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take.
Before we get stuck in, we recorded another of these agent challenges, which should be live over on Tom's channel right now. I'll put a link in the description to the video so you can check that out after you've watched this one. And if you've come over here from Tom's video, then thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your stay. So the way it'll work with today's twist is that Tom and I will go back and forth telling you our picks for the players. We will then sim into the future, as always, to do our comparisons, and at the very end, compare ourselves to the original agent, so he has a chance to mud us. And then you guys in the comments will get to pick the winner, as well as second and I guess third this time around. So let's get stuck in with Takefusa Kubo. So Tom, you're going to go first. Who is your first pick? Give me a couple of honourable mentions as well that you were thinking of moving into, but maybe at the last second they fell through. And of course, your main pick. So go ahead.
So my first idea was Roma. I looked at their team. They play with an attacking midfielder through the middle, and this guy, Christian Volpata, is not particularly good. So I was like, this is the perfect move, until I realised that Lorenzo Pellegrini is sat down on the bench and he is way better than Kubo, and Kubo's not going to start. So my second thought was going to Nice. However, they've had Andre Almeida on loan this season, and he's joining them this summer. So he's going to be their first choice. So Nice was off the table. So in the end, I decided to choose Hertha Berlin. because they play with an attacking midfielder, Odin Thiago Holm, but he's only in on loan this season and isn't coming back next season, so there's a spot in the team for Kubo to fit in there. I think he's going to be a perfect fit for this team to just try and help the striker score a few more goals, pass some balls into him. He's got wingers either side to support him as well, but of course Kubo can play on the wings as well if needed, so he's very versatile and is going to come into this team to be actually one of their best attackers.
That's really interesting. I think the thing I like about Kubo is that because he can play in so many different positions, there's a lot more moves that are sort of available for him, even if they do have maybe some strength in other areas. I feel like he'll get moves depending on where you put him.
Yeah, and it also worked out quite nicely because Hertha Berlin are actually one that they've got a lot of money somehow. They always seem to have a lot of money in Football Manager, and he fits in quite nicely with their wage structure as well. One of the more higher earners in the team, but not the highest by a long shot. You know, got Fabian Rieder here on £100,000 a week, and Kubo's not wanting anywhere near that, so he fits in nicely.
So you'll be pleased to know, interestingly, that none of your 3 picks feature in any of my 3 picks either. So that's actually, we've kind of gone down different routes with this. Our first club I went to was actually Valencia over in Spain, or staying in Spain, I suppose. They can afford the wages easily. He fits into their system quite nicely, and they can afford it. And they came 4th last season, so I thought that would be a nice move. You actually wanted the least money to move there, but I just felt that he might struggle to get as much football as he might want. The next club I looked at was over in Germany, much like yourself, but I had a little look at Mainz, as they had a surprising amount of money as well. There's just a lot of money sloshing around in Germany. Again, he plays in that great role. He is better than what they mainly have, which is Lee Jae-sung, and again, they can afford him. He's in the Europa League with them, but I felt there was just one option slightly better, and that was Portugal and Benfica. I've never moved a player to Benfica before, but again, they can afford him. He slots into their system nicely. Now, one of the reasons I didn't pick them initially is that they actually had Andre Anderson in that role, but he was only on loan, and from what I can tell, they have no chance of affording him permanently, so that means they were completely devoid of a player in that AMC slot, and it meant that there was a perfect slot for Kubo. They can afford the transfer. They'd won the title this season. I felt he'd have a chance to get some silverware and hopefully move on and better his career over in Portugal.
I like that a lot. I think that's a really savvy move, actually. I did have a look at Portugal for actually Rutter rather than Kubo. And I couldn't quite find a place for Rutter, but I didn't actually consider the attacking midfield position for one of the bigger teams. I think that's a great move.
So now we turn our attention to Georginio Rutter of Leeds United. So Tom, again, I'm going to need some honourable mentions from you, and of course the main pick that you chose for this gentleman who just needs a move.
Yeah, well, I looked first of all actually in Turkey. I thought a move over to the Turkish Super League would be decent. He could play some European football there with some of the bigger teams that he'd easily slot into. And I looked at Besiktas first, but then found out they play a one-striker system, and their main striker, Mofi, is actually pretty decent, and I don't think Rutter is going to be replacing him anytime soon. So despite him fitting into the team quite nicely, he's not going to be the starter. So I looked elsewhere and went over to Nice. Now, Nice have got a pretty nice team, pun intended, and he would easily fit into this team as the first choice striker. They play with 2 strikers as well, and Kasper Dolberg, importantly, is leaving the club, so they've got a room and spot there for Rutter to come in and fill. The downside is they have no money. They were £13 million in debt and only had £1 million of transfer budget, so it just wouldn't work. He was not going to be able to move there. So frustratingly, we could not send him over to Nice. So instead, I went a little bit differently with this, and I decided to move him back to Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim are the club that he moved to Leeds from, but actually I looked at Hoffenheim's team and their strikers aren't particularly good. He easily fits in with the wage structure as well, and I think would be a starter for them too. So actually, he needs to reset himself, he needs to get himself back on track, and he was doing really well at Hoffenheim before he moved to Leeds United, so why not send him back there and see how he gets on?
That is super, super interesting, because the first honourable mention I have is Hoffenheim, because I very nearly moved him back there as well, because as you say, can afford the wages, 2-striker system, plenty of room. Sebastian Aller is joining them, but he's worse, and he's 33 years old, so he's clearly not a long-term solution. But I just thought that maybe could go a little bit further afield. And then I saw Udinese, of all people, who were pushing quite far up the league into the top half in Serie A, weirdly had a decent amount of money, as often the Italian sides outside of the big few tend not to have a lot of cash. They had a bit of money. His main competition was Joaquin Correa, who was already better than, and I just thought it would be kind of finally fun to move a guy to an Italian side. But then I saw the move that I really wanted to make, and that was Celta Vigo over in Spain. They're a very strange side, particularly in this save, I've noticed, where they always seem to perform really well, even if some of the potentials and qualities of their players aren't always completely up to scratch. They've got a 2-striker system. He has a little bit of competition in the role from Spendi and Larson, but he's better than both of them him, I believe, and they can afford him. They came 7th in the league last year. They're usually pushing for Europe. He sits nicely in their wage demands as well. So I feel like Celta Vigo and Spain would be a nice move and a fresh new start for Georginio Rutter.
That's actually a really interesting move because I was also, I didn't mention them, but Celta Vigo, one of the teams I was looking at as well, actually, and they didn't quite make my top 3, but I was really intently looking at them thinking this could be a good move, but went for Hoffenheim instead, obviously.
It's worth noting that the way we've worked out these contracts is by taking over the clubs that we want to move the player to at the certain point in time to get the most realistic contract negotiations. But for the simulations, I'll be using the in-game editor to make the moves, mimicking the same exact contracts. That way it doesn't disrupt the clubs themselves with them losing their managers. So Tom, do you have any predictions? Do you think these are the right moves? Obviously you wouldn't have made them if you didn't think that, but are you now regretting any of the moves that you've made?
I think Rutter might do better for you than he's done for me, potentially. I think he's got a little bit less competition at your side. I think at Hoffenheim there is competition there. Like there's a decent strikers there. He's probably better than most of them, but there's a few of them milling around, and if he doesn't perform very well, he will be shifted aside pretty quickly. However, I do think my Kubo shout is really good. I expect him to do really well over in Hertha Berlin, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. I think he could go on to make some pretty big moves in the future off the back of this.
And don't forget, there's still the spanner in the works, potentially, that an agent, or the original agent in this case, could come in and absolutely mud both of us. Do you think that we're really in any danger of that happening? Because what I often find is that they often, if they stay at these clubs for very long, get released on free agents, and then they can get some very bizarre moves, and it can sometimes be the making of them. Do you think we're safe from the agent, or is he going to absolutely stump both of us?
Oh, I don't know, because agents are difficult, because they love money, don't they? So if they sniff out a move to, I don't know, the Middle East, for example, on some massive wages, then I think they may try and push them towards there rather than do what's best for their career. So it'll be interesting to see which way that sort of goes.
Well, at least either way, we'll come third at the lowest.
That's true. It's still a podium, isn't it?
It's a podium. Exactly. You get champagne. It's fine. They say that the third place person's usually happier than the second because they didn't just miss out on the win.
Exactly, yeah. Second place is the worst. No one wants to be second.
No, we're getting the copium in already.
Yep.
So now we're going to sim 5, then 10, then to the end of the players' careers to do our comparisons, and then at the very end have the agent come in and probably mud us both, let's be honest. So it's a new day, the clothes might have changed, not entirely sure, but the vibes remain as we now check in with Takefusa Kubo and Georginio Rutter to see how they've done in the first 5 years after the moves that we made for them. So we're going to start with my move at the moment. I'm going to start with Kubo before handing it off to Tom. Let's see, I'm just going to search for him right now and see where he has got up to in the meantime. He is at Napoli now, interestingly. So that definitely implies there's a move been made by him. Ignore all the career stats on this page. That is a lot of career stats. So it doesn't seem like he lasted very long at Benfica. Oh, yeah. That doesn't look great for me. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, I'm very confused by his lack of playing time at Benfica. 26-27 season was nothing. And then 27-28, 25 games, 8 goals, 6 assists. Like a really good season. And then obviously he moves very early on loan to Napoli the season afterward after making one appearance.
Yeah, it's sort of, now that I'm looking at it, it's actually not quite so bad, because if you look at it, I think actually that move for the 26-27 might actually be sort of essentially the back end of the previous season almost.
Yeah, I think it...
And as a result... Yeah, and I wonder if actually the first full season of his move is actually 27-28. So it seems like he does sort of hit the ground running particularly well. And actually, now that I look at this, it looks like he basically did one season at Benfica, killed it, and then Napoli went, all right, we'll take him on loan. Loan is weird, unless it was like a last day of the window move maybe, and they had no choice but to loan him.
Yeah, he's been really solid actually. Decent goal contributions. I think his average ratings have been done dirty by those a little bit, unless he literally scored his 10, 9, 11 goals in like 3 games a season or something like that. And the rest of the time it was terrible, but...
Definitely, 11 goals and 7 assists. Did he like give away a penalty in every one of the other games or something? 102 caps for Japan, 36 goals. Fairly solid. 91 grand a week as well. Seems like a nice pay bump that he's got himself. We're now going to go to 10 years on Takefusa Kubo to see, well, most likely he's going to be retired, but we'll see if he's managed to finish his career at Napoli or whether he maybe moves back to Japan. That'd be kind of interesting. Is he still playing in 2037? No. He is ahead of youth development, unemployed. Now, the question is where he actually finishes. Okay. Bournemouth.
It's a very bizarre move, that, I feel. From Napoli to Bournemouth on a free transfer as well. So clearly Napoli didn't think about renewing his contract, but I guess at this point he's, 35, 36. So maybe I can see why they're not giving him a new contract.
It seems like that last season we saw, the 11-7, was sort of his best season for the club. And then the following year, his performances they actually, apparently, according to the game anyway, got better. But it was a much smaller sample size. And it feels like, he was getting less and less starts. And at that point, I suppose when your contract's up, you think, well, why not get a massive contract? Because no doubt it was probably at least 100k a week he was probably getting at Bournemouth in the Premiership. Premiership? Well, I'm in the 90s. It's not great. Did he actually start any games? No first team appearances from the start against Bournemouth, just the 13 substitute appearances.
This is the big thing. I've just got onto his history and milestones. He obviously played a big part in the under-21 side because he's won the English under-21 Division 3. He's the champion of that, apparently.
That is the real quiz.
That is the one thing that you need to be winning, I think, when you're a footballer.
Yeah, I mean, can you really call yourself a legend if you haven't won the English under-21s Division 3? I mean, really.
At what, the age of 36 as well? It's quite impressive.
Exactly. Yeah, how many of those has Messi got?
None as far as I'm aware. So
precisely.
Me, Kubo's
1-0 Takefusa.
Exactly.
Serie A champion. So he won some titles. He won a title with Napoli, which is really cool. Actually, that's really nice that they actually won one in the save with him in that team.
Yeah.
I think that might have been during his best season as well. So it looks like he sort of carried them towards a Scudetto. I love that he's got a title. He's got a Portuguese title as well, obviously. In fact, did he win that the same season? Man's just collecting titles.
It looks like he went on loan to Napoli and came back in time to be the champions with Benfica as well, maybe. And then obviously got his permanent move afterwards.
That's remarkable. Man's got 2 title wins in the same season.
Superb.
I guess the question is, does your move perform any better than that?
Let's find out, shall we? Let's see what he gets up to. So, 5 years into my simulation with him at Hertha Berlin, he is still at Hertha Berlin, as we can see, which is, I think, a fairly decent sign. If we look at his history, he has played a lot of games for them. Wow. Wow. And the average ratings are all above a 7, apart from his first season. I think this has worked out pretty well so far.
Just in terms of pure performance. Look at that season in this. Actually, that looks like it's the exact same year that he performed really well in the other one. But like 15 goals and 8 assists in the Bundesliga. I mean, that's better than any of the seasons he's had at Napoli. And the fact that he's still there as well. So like a nice bit of consistency there. He's settled in. And it looked like from what I saw on the main profile that he had one more Japanese cap in this version as well. I mean, it's obviously minor things, but I think maybe even more goals for them potentially. Yeah,
I'm really impressed by that. It looks like he's not had a new contract yet, though, because his contract is still set to expire in 2033. So he's still on the same contract, despite his great performances. They've not given him a new one. So his valuation at 20 to 60 million is going to start to drop off a little bit soon, I think. And we'll see if he goes anywhere else. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay, you could have given me 1,000 guesses.
Yeah, I would not have known that this was going to happen. So Takefusa Kubo is still playing at 35 years old for Western United FC in Australia. He's gone a completely different direction to you. And I find this mad. But he didn't go there from Hertha Berlin. He's actually taken a brief spell in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, look at that fee!
Following a £33.5 million move where he has just ripped that league apart. Look at those average ratings.
21 goals in 30 games. I mean, was he playing as a striker? 77. Wow, that's insane. £33 million, and I bet you he was getting the bag as well while he was there.
He's won some stuff as well, but different. He's never won a league title in Europe. Now, he went on to win the Europa League with Real Sociedad in 2020. Oh, that's before we moved him.
That was so. Yeah, it must have been right before he left.
That's not actually me that's done that. Basically, I've got him to win 2 Asian Cups with Japan and the AFC Champions League twice with Al Ittihad from Saudi Arabia. I'll be honest, I don't know if that's quite as prestigious. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the AFC Champions League, but I think the Serie A maybe trumps it a little bit.
That's a very, very tight one. I'm very curious to see how the original agent does with him, because, I mean, that could mud us both, but I don't know. That will be one for the comments to figure out, I suspect.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see how the actual agent gets on, shall we?
So Kubo, over the full course of his career with the original agent, how did he get on? He's playing for Lille's second side.
Oh,
okay.
I'll be honest, I think we've done a better job just by looking at this briefly.
Potentially so. It looks like he's actually not retiring at the end of this season.
Wow. He just
Surely
loves playing football.
He's just a man of the people. I might just go one more year, actually. Yeah, he moved. I think that was the same exact summer that we were looking to move him, but he went to France instead to Lille. I'm surprised they were actually able to make that happen, but he has been nothing but consistent there. I mean, 10 goals in League that season. He's always getting goals and assists every single year for them, and that's just really consistent. Seems like his playing time fell off massively here, and then he for some reason went on loan to Greece to have exactly the same amount of playing time.
Yeah, it would be quite unlikely, I think. And yeah, obviously he's not, you can see there. And only one Asian Cup winner as well.
Yeah, I think personally, and I think the comment section would probably agree, that as cool as it was to see him go to Lille, I think that's a good move for him. But I think that both of our moves were better than that.
I agree. I think he's come bottom. This AI agent has come bottom. I think we've done better. Depending on how you value trophies or money, that depends who's done better with it, I think. But we are definitely better agents.
So now we're going to turn our attention to Georginio, Rutter. No idea which one of us has won the previous battle, but certainly wasn't the agent in my book anyway. I'm sure some of you might disagree on that one. But regardless, we now move to Georginio Rutter and 5 years into his career, verging on 30, and he's at Celta Vigo, which I do believe was the move that I originally made for him, which is nice to see him actually stick at his club for a little bit. But look at that value.
Yeah, it's not bad actually at all. He's done really quite well, to be fair. No, I mean, actually, if you include cup games, he's not quite reaching 20 goals. He's like 18, 19 goals a season, but that is still very good.
Yeah, considering what he was getting before, where he could barely play, like the first season with 10 goals, but he actually got 19 in all competitions, and then 15 in all comps the following year. 18, he's right on the cusp of it. And I think in the most recent season, yeah, there we go, 20 goals in all comps. Got some continental, which implies that Celta Vigo have been playing in Europe with him as well. I'd say that's pretty impressive. Like, to score like regularly double digits, sometimes close to 20 goals in the Liga, that's no mean feat for someone like him. No France caps, which is a bit of a shame, but obviously that squad is stacked, so that would have been remarkable had he got anywhere near that team. So now we've moved 10 years into the future, well, 5 from the last point, to see if he is still playing. I suspect that at 35, there's a chance that he could be, and he's at Lens. Okay, so he has gone back to France. That prediction at least sort of came true. It looks like he's stuck around at Celta Vigo longer than I expected, actually.
Yeah, I think he has done, to be fair, and he is retiring this summer as well, so we've caught him right at the very end of his career, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, just moving over to his career history, because that's what we really want to see. So it was right about here, and then, yeah, it looks like it tailed off a little bit for him almost immediately after he had his best season for the club, but still 10 goals in all comps. We'll ignore that because that's just presumably some second team games. 12 goals, it's still pretty good considering he's still only 31. I think it's this season here. Now, whether they just signed someone new or whatever, I don't know, but 5 substitute appearances for an awful average rating. It seems like he just lost a yard of pace and a decent number of appearances, and he's sort of become back to the super sub that he was at Leeds back at the very start of this save. So that's pretty solid. I just don't know if he's going to have won anything. Unless maybe a cheeky Conference League, perhaps?
You're going to be blown away by this. I've just clicked on it.
Oh, okay. Let me guess.
Wow.
Wait, sorry. What? What? That's amazing.
La Liga champions in 2034, where he made 5 substitute appearances.
Still counts.
That
still
season.
Counts.
Oh no, he scored 12 goals that season. It was the 33-34 season, wasn't it? He got 8 goals in the league, 12 in all competitions, 30 appearances, 12 starts, 18 subs. So he's done pretty well there, actually. So actually, he played a big part in that title-winning season.
Oh my God, they won it by 2 goals.
Goal difference, my word. That's insane.
That's insane. That's the best thing I've seen in this since I've been doing this. You've got some work to do now.
Oh, I know.
Right, so we're going to move over to your pick for Georginio Rutter and see if he can match a Europa League and a Liga Santander. That's amazing.
I don't think I can beat that, if I'm honest with you. That's so good. Oh! I can't believe he's had quite a few moves, actually. Wow. So Hoffenheim, Real Betis and Wolves, and he's not scored a lot of goals at any of these clubs, and he's also currently transfer listed at Wolves as well, and has been since March. So I don't think he's... basically, you've won this already, I think.
I mean, hey, you never know.
Yeah.
I mean...
We've still got another 5 years after this one, I suppose. Everything could change for him, but...
Signs for PSG, wins 5 titles.
Yeah, I hope so. We moved into Hoffenheim then, and he got 4 goals... with only 6 starts and 22 substitute appearances. The second season, only 3 starts. And then he got his loan move in the 29-30 season to Real Betis, where actually starts a lot of games and scores 9 goals, 10 in all competitions. But clearly, they didn't want to make that move permanent because Wolves in the Championship did, where he made 1 start and 14 substitute appearances.
He is just allergic to being on the pitch, isn't he? That seems to be the biggest problem with him. Like, at Leeds, super sub, goes to Hoffenheim, super sub. Finally gets a move to Real Betis, and they actually play him a little bit. He's like, no, didn't really rate that. Back to the bench.
Yeah, because if I remember rightly, the justification for Hoffenheim was they had some old strikers playing a 2-striker system. I thought he'd be in there a fair bit, but clearly they just didn't rate him back at Hoffenheim again.
I'm surprised. I was looking at Hoffenheim as well, and I thought that Allaire would never stay in the side very long, but it seems that he had much more longevity than we thought he did.
Okay.
Oh my days.
I mean, again, retiring this summer, but he's currently at Spartak Moscow, valued at £35,000. But on 35 grand a week, so he's securing the bag still at that sort of age. But after his move away from Wolves, he went back to the Championship with Sheffield Wednesday and won the Championship with them, or got promoted at least, because the following season in the Premier League was actually fairly instrumental in getting them that title win. He's got 12 goals there and 42 starts, which isn't bad, but clearly just can't hack it in the Premier League, because the following season it's 3 starts and 29 substitute appearances. Doesn't do much the following season, gets a deadline day move by looks of things to Spartak Moscow, where he doesn't really play a lot at all, ever.
Bizarre. The fact that, what a pickup though for Sheffield Wednesday. It's a big bid, like £6.5 million in the Championship is not small change, considering the record he'd had up to this point. And it seems like it was actually a bloody fantastic signing for that one season, and then it was back to the bench again.
21 goal contributions in that season, a 7.2 on average rating, which is way higher than any other rating he's ever had. I might even finish behind the AI guy this time, you know.
Oh, there's a chance. He
has. He's got 2 promotions, one with Wolves and one with Sheffield Wednesday, but he just turns into he's a Championship striker. He is like, I'm trying to think.
Darren Huckabee.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of player.
I guess the question now becomes, did the original agent do any better? So that is what we're now going to find out to see if Tom is fully mudded. Did he do any better than either of us? Oh, okay. Angers. So he is back in France. The question is, how did he get there? And, oh my God, he stayed at Leeds.
Wow. For a long time.
That's a lot of appearances, but the question, did he actually force his way in? Okay, this is very interesting. Oh, man.
I can't believe it.
Oh, that is... I did not see that coming.
Staying at Leeds was the best option, apparently.
But he did... How many La Ligas did he win at Leeds?
Oh, my word. I mean, I don't think Leeds are winning the Premier League title, but he's had a very good, prolific time there, scoring, a decent amount of goals. Yeah.
But then he just comes back and Leeds are like, you know what? We've changed our mind. You're actually brilliant now. And he went, fine, I actually am. 10, 12 in the Premier League here. Played every game that season as well.
Wow.
That's remarkable. And then they got relegated with him.
So yeah, maybe he's not winning a title with them, but he did get that move back to the Premier League. So my save, obviously, he's a Championship striker, really not Premier League. Clearly, he's a solid Premier League striker here, where he's developed nicely.
He certainly has, yeah. I mean, £21 million to Forest is quite a big deal. It looks like that he did one really good year and then immediately fell out of favour, as presumably they needed a bit more reinforcements, as he was probably about 32, 33 by that point. Yeah. But that is... Oh, if Leeds have won like a cup in there, that's a big transfer fee as well. Anything interesting in here? No. A relegation with Leeds, and he did win the very, very, very prestigious English Under-21 Premier Division 1 champions.
Yeah, he's better than Kubo then, isn't he?
Basically the World Cup.
Basically, yeah. Honestly, I'm mudded here. This guy's come second, and you're clear at the top. Celta de Vigo, what a shout that was.
Oh, I can't believe that's worked out so well. I would not have... I thought you might do okay there, but winning the league? That's mad.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, and my ego's been bruised a little bit here, I think.
So, there we have it. That was extremely interesting, and a lot of stuff happened there that I was not expecting to happen. I hope that everyone enjoyed that tremendously. Now, those of you that are watching this video, of course, may or may not have noticed that there is another video of this over on Tom's channel right now, which I strongly urge you to check out. And if you've just come over from that, I hope you enjoyed your time here. Maybe go check Tom's video out again, then. We'll just keep this solid loop of viewership, and we'll both benefit from that. That would be lovely. But what I want to ask you, Tom, is where can people find you if they don't already know? All the socials, all the good stuff.
Yeah, TomFM on YouTube. It's TomFM_YT on Twitter. I recently found out it's not a Spanish kid. I think he's Argentinian, actually, who's got the @TomFM @ I keep trying to get it off him. He keeps not replying to me, so bit of an issue there. But yeah, those two are the main places.
Nevertheless, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to seeing what the results are like over on the other video. So if you have enjoyed this video, drop a like. That'd be spectacular. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. That'd be awesome. And we will see you again very, very soon. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.